Hello, this is Mark Wildman of Wildman Athletica, and today we are going to answer a question or a comment from Sergey Bzyakow. Sergey. We've been making a series of videos on my personal program, and we've been talking a lot about snatch program design in there. One of the core concepts that we've been talking about in that is the Secret Service snatch test, which is just a simple test that you can do in order to figure out where you are. The Secret Service snatch test uses a 24K kettlebell, and you do snatches non-stop for 10 minutes. And the goal is to get 200 snatches. Sergey says he can do that. Good. But he wonders why he can't do pull-ups. He says he's struggling to even do one pull-up. And as an ancillary thing, he thinks his body fat is too high. Kettlebelling is what we call general physical preparedness. General physical preparedness. It means that it helps you do something that humans are supposed to do. It helps you learn to pick up objects and not put them down for long periods of time at an intermediate type of weight. Pattern-specific training starts to come up when you start talking about things like pull-ups. When you think about pull-ups, I put pull-ups in a category of pulling to the sky, and snatches are in a category of pulling from the earth. The kettlebell is down at the bottom, you pull it up, you catch it at the top. When you do a pull-up, you grab and you pull yourself towards the sky. So pull-up has a whole family of movements. The basic pull-up is the most common one, just a straight bar, grab the bar, do a pull-up, try and get your chin over the bar. A pull-up is half of a muscle-up, probably the more useful thing. Pull yourself up and get over the top of something. And then we have the classic training apparatus that people do, which is gymnastics rings, where everything moves independently and you have to require more stabilization muscles in order to do those muscle-ups and everything else. Those all fall into that category of pull-ups. When you think about kettlebells, think about them as being different. Everything is pulling up from the ground. If we're doing our normal pyramid, where we have general physical preparedness, activity-specific preparedness, sport-specific preparedness, and at the top, mental-emotional preparedness. Pattern-specific preparedness is kind of an idea that fits off in the side here. So when you think about your ability to do your Secret Service snatch test, think that this provides you with the base athletic muscle in order to learn to do things like pull-ups better. But it does not provide you the neurological driver to do pull-ups. But think about pull-ups as general physical preparedness, which would prepare you to learn to do things like aerial arts or rings or something like that. But they are not in the same family of movement. So if you do your kettlebell training and you focus on your classic six, the swing, the clean, the snatch, the press, the Turkish get up, and the squat, that provides you with the athletic base to learn to do pull-ups, but you will have to do a specific pull-up program in order to be really good at them. If you have done a bunch of pull-ups before, you will remember how to do them. Think about the same way a gymnast is always a gymnast. If a gymnast did, say, uneven bars for 10 years, even if they get out of shape, they can probably still get to the top of the bar because their brain still knows the drivers to get them up, even if they don't possess all the muscular endurance to do it. So pull-ups are like everything else. They are position specific. So you have to practice all of the positions of pull-ups in order to be good at them. So let's segue this into some options for Sergey here. The expensive one is breakdown drills. If you go to a CrossFit gym, then that's what you're gonna do. Put a bar on a rack, make your body a plank, start doing pull-ups, do higher reps because your body is lighter, because instead of having your body vertical, you have moved your body at an angle to take some of the load away. And then you would start doing breakdown drills. And usually if somebody's doing a pull-up program in a CrossFit gym, then there will be a bunch of different types of breakdown drills in order for them to work on the neurological drivers separately so that they'll be able to add up all of those separate neurological drivers to do a pull-up itself. The problem with that option, of course, is that it's expensive. It requires you to have a big rack where you could do kipping pull-ups. That is not something that most people have access to at all unless they're at a CrossFit gym. A big rack like that from Rogue is in the $2,000 range. There are a bunch of other companies that make them, but you have to have a place to put that. Most people have that pull-up bar that goes in the door jamb, where you can't straighten your legs all the way out when you're at a dead hang because the door is not that high. That's kind of more the common way to do it. That's how I did pull-ups when I was a kid. I would do pull-ups in the rafters of the barn, and I had one of those bars that went in the doorway of my bedroom, and I would do hundreds of pull-ups every day because that's what we had access to. That's the only thing we had. We had that and push-ups and picking up bags of sand. That was pretty much all I had access to when I was a kid. But the easiest way for people to start working on this pattern is to start doing negatives. Put a box, step up to the bar, get your chin over the bar. The higher over the bar you can start, the better. So if you're starting with your hands at cheekbone height, try and get above. Try to drive your elbows forward, squeeze as hard as you can, and then lower yourself down until your arms are all the way straight. But you would work on negatives in order to take the general physical preparedness that you had created with your basics of kettlebells to start to move it towards our pattern-specific training to build the neurological driver to do it. And everybody who watches this channel knows exactly what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say volume cycle. Start with your negatives, start over the top of the bar, lower down until your arms are perfectly straight, and then start a volume cycle. Start with a much lower number than you think you should. It could be every minute on the minute, starting at just 1 rep per minute and doing 5 minutes. And then start building up the volume. Next time, 6 minutes. Next time, 7 minutes. The problem with this type of training is it takes a long time. Every time the workout gets longer. But you could build up to 30 or 40 or 50 negatives over the course of several months and then jump to regular pull-ups. Think about all of it as being pattern specific. It's hard to break a pull-up down further than just a pull-up without a lot of other equipment. If you have other equipment like at a CrossFit gym, then there would be a bunch of other drills that you could do, but it's expensive. People have a hard time making themselves lighter unless they're using bands or whatever, but focus on the negatives. Take the movement, rip it into 2 parts, the down and the up. The up is the hard part, the down is the part that you can control, so you can vary your negatives based on several things. So think about the variables that you can control in the cheapest way possible, and that would be the pattern. Break 1 whole rep up into the part that you can actually do, the negative, and then the time under tension of the negative and the volume itself. Start with this idea, break it up, time under tension, control the volume, and then test in a month and see if you can do a pull-up. Simple idea, but the main thing we want to think about is just because you can do one thing does not mean you can do something else. Because you can do a bunch of snatches does not mean you're great at pull-ups. Just because you can do a bunch of pull-ups does not mean you're great at backflips. Just because you can do a lot of clean and press does not mean you can swim. The other point that he was talking about was he thinks his body fat is too high. I didn't get any notes in his comment on what his diet is. I have no idea. So right here, if you think your body fat is too high, then you need to start thinking about diet. Diet is the last thing that an athlete will change. They will snatch more, they will do more pull-ups, they will run further, they will run faster. Everybody will try to avoid altering their diet in any way. Things that you could do very quickly. You could eliminate alcohol. Depending on where you're from, that could or could not be an easy thing to do. The easiest thing that you can do to start lowering your body fat is lower the amount of time you're actually eating every day. Eating on an intermittent fasting schedule. The one that I like the most is 16 hours of not eating, 8 hours of eating. That means you start eating at noon, you stop eating at 8 p.m. And you work out early in the morning so that your body has to start using fat first. Then you drop sugar out of your diet. Alcohol is a sugar. That's usually the hardest one for people to drop, and then move towards eating meat and fish and vegetables. Take all the calories that you would normally eat in a day to feed an athlete, turn them all into meat and vegetables, which is actually quite a big volume of food, and eat them all in a limited amount of time. If 16-8 isn't working for you, then you can go to 20 and 4. So start eating at, say, 2 o'clock, be done eating at 6 p.m. Only eat all your calories in that 4-hour block. Train before you eat the food, and don't eat for maybe 2 hours after you train so that your body will process and start to use fat as its primary energy source. Quick thoughts for Sergey here. Just because you can do snatches does not mean you have the pattern-specific training to do pull-ups. If you're doing pull-ups, the cheapest way to do it is to break it down, focus on the negative, and the descending rate, time under tension, add volume until you can do a pull-up and then jump to another volume cycle. If your body fat is too high, limit your eating time down into a smaller window, convert all of your calories into meat and vegetables, and cut out all the sugars. So give that a shot. Let me know how it goes.